once I get over it, it is so satisfying to open. That is really nice. So highlights for me, deploying this and the hollow grind. I think that's where this McNees shines. What's up everyone? Welcome back to the channel. I am Brian and I'm here today with another new knife unboxing. This is a McNees Dixon, but this is a special one because it is a Triple Aught Design edition. And I actually bought this not really knowing anything about McNees, simply because Triple Aught Design had this on their website, and I've got a couple of Triple Aught Design Demcos that are among my favorite Demcos out there. So I figured I would take a chance, and I did, and I ordered it. And so let's check it out. All right, well, let's take a look at what we've got going on here. We've got a pretty cool looking box. McNees knives, made in the USA. McNees Dixon Topo Tad Edition. I like this. This is a nice box. Usually boxes for knives are plain, nondescript, or if you're Strider, just a little plastic baggie. This is a really nice touch. Inside, couple of stickers, big Dixon Energy, McNees Performance Machine, Dixon Steel, CPM MagnaCut, Handle Titanium, Hardware Titanium. Whew, that is nice. All right, let's get this sticker out of the way if I can. Okay, so the reason I went with this one, I chose blue because for my Demcos, these are 80/20 compacts, and I've got both the blue anodized and the bronze anodized, and I like the blue better. So taking a chance on a new knife that I know nothing about, where it had the same color selections, blue, bronze, and stonewash, I decided to go for the blue. And it is interesting to see in hand just right off the bat, they seem to do something to their finish where it's like they apply the blue anodizing to it, but then they just add like a, I don't know what the right word is. It's not a stonewash, it just looks dirty. I can't explain it. You should be able to kind of see the difference, hopefully, with these two side by side, but I believe the blue anodizing is the same and the end result of the colors look different because of something else that they do from a process perspective after the fact that really just makes the knife look weathered and used. I like it, I don't have a problem with it, it's just interesting to see. Looking at the kind of Triple Aught Design additions to this knife, looks like we've got 3 lines milled in to the show side of this knife. Really nice gold coloring to the Topo pattern. There's a couple of different colors of the Topo. One of them is almost so muted it looks just like a blue. I think on the Triple Aught Design, I guess there are blue lines in the Topo pattern on this as well. So pretty much I think follows the same modification pattern and recipe, I should say, for the Demco to this McNees, but again, just looks a little bit more worn, weathered, used. It is a full titanium knife, so we've got titanium scales on both sides. We've got a MagnaCut blade, And as much as I could kind of methodically go over everything about this knife top to bottom, I'll tell you the thing that I'm most interested in is the grind. So let's see if I can actually deploy this. It's got a really nice slot here, really thick, really substantial, I should say, in terms of being able to get your finger in there. It runs on bearings. It is a frame lock. With the Demcos, again, I'm left-handed, so I really like the shark lock. Really easy for me to deploy and close with my left hand. Frame locks are gonna be an issue. I really just kind of wanted to see what this is about, but let's try deploying it. Ooh, that was nice. That was really, really nice. Really easy, really satisfying, really nice click, really nice feel. Blade open, we've got McNees on this side, MagnaCut on the other, flag with USA, and the Triple Aught Design logo. But again, the reason that I was really excited for this knife is actually the grind. It's a drop point blade with a hollow grind. And I do think, if I'm not mistaken, that it is a hand ground hollow grind. So the price point on this, I should mention, is $650, which is pretty expensive in general. You know, it does kind of fit in with the other USA made, full titanium scale, MagnaCut blade knives that are out there. But to me, having a hand ground, hollow ground blade at this price point is really the differentiator, if there were one. Now, other knife brands like Demco have their own features that I think, you know, justify their price points, the shark locks, the overbuilt quality. I'm just saying, in this particular case, if there was a highlight, to me, it would be the hollow ground blade. And the hollow ground blade basically means the grind from the edge to kind of the full thickness area is a concave shape, which means it's gonna be a lot slicier than a flat ground blade. So this would be an example of a flat grind where it's even from the edge to the full thickness area. This is hollow ground, so it's concave, so it's kind of gonna be easier to get into material. And this can be done with a machine, but this, my understanding is, it was hand ground. So, you know, that adds, I think, cost to manufacturing. This knife, generally speaking, does look really plain, I will say. So one of the reasons that I went for the Triple Aught Design version of this is the added milling, the anodization, and the laser topo pattern give this knife a character that I would say the standard version does not have. And I will also mention, from a hollow grind perspective, that the only other knife that I have that is hollow ground is this custom Demco, and this is a hand ground hollow grind as well, and this had a table price of $2,000. Now, the quality obviously is a whole nother level with this one, but again, point being, you know, a hollow grind, a hand ground hollow grind is something you might find on a really high-end custom. You can get things reground, but I would say it's not common really on a knife at this price point to have this hollow grind. So again, to me, that's kind of like the coolest feature about this particular McNees. Size-wise, it is a pretty big, substantial, kind of full-size knife. Interesting to see how it might compare to a AD20 Demco. From a size perspective, if we look at that, I think that you can kind of see really very, very similar in overall length, overall blade length, overall handle length. Pretty significant difference, I would say, in overall thickness. So The Demko comes in, I think, at a 0.180 blade stock, and the McNees is 0.15. So a little bit thinner, and you can see that the handle shape is actually rounded off, so that should make it a little bit easier in the pocket. The overall thickness of this is very clearly a bit less than the Demko. Comparing it to some other knives I have on hand, a compact Six from Demko, which is a little bit shorter. You can see a little bit shorter blade thickness on this, 0.125, 0.13. One thing I just noticed looking at this is the jimping, or lack thereof. There's no jimping on the McNees, which is very atypical. I don't think I've seen that on any of the knives that I've purchased recently, where there's no jimping up here, either on the back of the blade or the top of the scales. It's just smooth. Doesn't necessarily feel bad, but definitely feels different. As I put my finger here, I would say the blade lockup feels very solid. I'm not sensing any play up or down, left or right. It feels like a very quality piece, but for some reason, just in hand, like I'm not necessarily in love with how this feels in hand. Now, I am left-handed, so most people I think would be holding it this way. When you hold it this way, it feels different. I don't know that I would say it feels better. I actually kind of like holding it left-handed better, because this clip kind of gets in your way when you're holding it with your right hand. When you're holding it with your left, it kind of just actually acts as a place for your finger to rest. So it actually feels better to me, I think, in my left hand. But just in general, I don't know, for a blade this thick, the handle feels maybe too thin. Now that's a trade-off, because you want something to feel good in your hand, but you also want it to fit in your pocket well. I guess just for comparison, you know, this Demko feels much, much more solid in hand, much more substantial. What about a Strider? What about a Strider? What about this guy right here? So this is an SMF. Pretty comparable, I would say, size-wise to the McNees. If we compared it to a SNG, I think we would see the SNG is a smaller knife. Absolutely it is. So let's see how the SMF feels in hand by comparison. It's thinner, but it feels better in hand. The contour of the grip, the jimping on the blade, it just feels more ergonomic and more planted. It's all subjective, but between the three, I would say I do like the Strider and the Demko in terms of how they feel in hand a bit better than this McNees. All right, what else is there to try? So I've opened this, I have not closed it, and again, being left-handed, I haven't quite figured out my favorite way to close a frame lock blade. Testing this frame lock, I will say it's pretty smooth. There isn't the lock stick that I was noticing with the Striders, so I think that that's a huge plus. And being on bearings just makes the action, open and closing, incredibly, incredibly smooth as well. So I like that a lot. I really enjoy deploying this blade. using a reverse flick, it feels very, very nice. And honestly, for me personally, again, being at home EDC, I'm just using these knives to do dad duty type things. You know, open up packaging for my daughter's toys, cut zip ties, tape, break down boxes. So a big part of the enjoyment of a knife like this is how it feels in hand, how it feels in the pocket, how it feels to just carry, how it feels to just sit around and fidget with it. Not sure what happened there. Let's try that again. How it feels to sit around and fidget with it. This feels really satisfying to sit around and fidget with it. The Demcos are very, very satisfying knives to open and close. This one, maybe not so satisfying to close for me until I figure that out. It gets kind of stuck, like I'm having, So I think it's not quite as easy for me to get over the detent. It takes a little bit more force, and sometimes I'm trying to use the same force as the Demco and it just does nothing. But once I get over it, it is so satisfying to open. That is really nice. So highlights for me, deploying this and the hollow grind. I think that's where this McNees shines. I am noticing as I look at it, we do have some internal milling in kind of a triangle pattern on the inside of the scales. That can help with weight. The Demco compacts do something similar. So let's see, where does this stand from a weight perspective? We're at 5.3 ounces versus the Demco compact at 7.2, so I'd say significantly lighter. What about a compact Saks? 6.5. Makes sense based on kind of what you see from a blade stock and handle thickness. Overall, just kind of eyeballing it visually, it falls about where you would expect. I think this is a very quality piece. I don't know for sure that it will live in my permanent collection, but I definitely enjoyed checking it out. And is there anything else noteworthy here? The clip. This clip is very cool. This clip also has the same anodizing and Topo pattern applied, where the Demco does not, and that is a really nice touch. And I'm not sure if there's anything else really worth noting about this here at this time. So that was really satisfying. Engaging the frame lock very slowly just kind of, I think, speaks to the precision with which this was manufactured and machined. I'm impressed with this in hand. I would not have been interested at all, honestly, just looking at a kind of base model of this. Triple Aught Design with their kind of additional features that they apply is what sucked me in. Having this in hand, I am definitely more impressed with this than I thought I would be. So overall, I would say this is a quality piece. I think when you get the treatment applied, you know, the price point on this was $650, I think $25 more than a standard one. The price point on this Demco was $850, which I think was $150 more than a standard one. So that actually makes this particular version a pretty good value. And I think that's all I've got for this one. So thank you for watching. Please let me know what you think of McNees and this particular knife in the comments. I appreciate you, and I will see you at the next one soon.